Hey everyone, quick update on Bitcoin and crypto as we have seen PCE come in a lot hotter than anticipated, which is putting a lot of pressure on the market. So I want to show you where you should be buying and selling, what the most likely outcome is going to be this week. So if you want me to carry on covering the markets, tell you where I think things are going, go ahead and like the video. It costs you nothing, helps me out a lot. And without further ado, subscribe to the channel and let's get straight into the video. So Bitcoin has been consolidating range bound between $25,000 and $23,500, and it does look like to me like this pattern is actually set to break down. You can see that PCE data has come in a lot hotter than expected, and because of the CPI numbers and because of the PCE numbers, and inflation is still getting pretty sticky and out of hand, it does seem like the market is starting to price in a higher probability of a 50 basis point rate hike in the coming Federal Reserve meeting. So all of this sort of stuff that's being talked about at the minute has not been priced into the markets, and you can see that the S&P 500 is struggling quite a bit and is getting a pullback from the highs that we saw back in February, and the DXY is to continue to push up with quite impulsive strength to the upside. And we know that it's not exactly that just because the DXY pumps up today that Bitcoin has to crash today, but it's put a lot of pressure on Bitcoin, and that means that there's a lot of headwinds for Bitcoin to actually surpass that $25,000 mark, which I don't think is very likely as the next leg up. You can see on the shorter term time frames that we've just started to deviate, and start to form some SFPs at these highs, and we're actually now attacking these lows which we've created as support multiple times, and the bounces are getting smaller and smaller, and this whole floor of support that we can see here looks like it's about to fall apart. You can see that we have massive gaps in price action over here, so I think that if we do lose this low of 23.6 23.4 and we slice through this level, I think this is going to be volatile, and we're probably going to retest this order at a very minimum, and I think that that's going to happen pretty damn fast because this move was fast. There's not a lot of volume here, and you can see as well that the buy volume on this upside move, as we spoke about in the last video, has been really poor, and you can see that there's not been enough buyers up here to sustain a higher push to the upside, and you can see that a lot of the volume here has actually been more selling than more buying, and that tells us that this move is weakening, and that the likely move is going to be to the downside. I think what is most likely to happen is the same thing that happened back in the middle of January when we saw that impulsive move, and we made that massive green candle to take us up to that next zone of resistance at $23,000, and we basically consolidated for a while, came back and filled that void. So we at least, in my opinion, come down, break this level, retest, fill this gap. And if we are going to move higher, we're at least going to retest this level first, right? I mean, that is the most likely scenario here. Whether that happens today, the weekend, or next week, I think that this has to happen, in my opinion, down before we get a move up. But even that move up is not going to be very certain because we have massive weekly moving average resistance above us, We've got this 50 period and 200 period week moving average, which is now just starting to play out at the end of the week. You can see that we tried to push above it twice, so we've both got rejected, and we've now got candle closes which are looking like they are going to close outside of those key moving averages, which is telling us that we're seeing resistance here, and we need to push to the downside and find some buyers first before we have any chance of actually moving higher. And some likely bearish scenarios that I want you to look out for, that if we do break this to the downside, which I see is the most likely, so if we come down here, retest this level over here, and then come back up and retest something like this, and retest this and confirm it as resistance, and then continue to move lower, you're now starting to form some kind of distribution head and shoulders pattern, and that could take us to much lower prices. And as I said, I think the minimum that we're going to at least check and tag at some point in the coming months is probably going to be $20,000, where the CME gap is, just about here, resting with liquidity underneath the stop losses at 20.3, and then you maybe have a shot, in my opinion, at moving higher. But I think that after a 60% move to the upside, I think the most likely thing that's going to happen next is just going to be a correction, which is normal and healthy, and it's just about whether this correction is going to move to higher prices or move lower. The DXY can actually continue a lot higher, and if that does continue higher, it's going to put a lot of pressure, give a lot more headwinds for Bitcoin. You can see that we've got this sort of fair value gap in price for the DXY, which could take us to approximately that $110 level. And I'm telling you that if the DXY continues to march up impulsively and move into this level, this is probably going to put Bitcoin in a tricky spot and retest some of those lower levels at the very least. So keep an eye out for the DXY. I said that if the DXY moves over here, you're likely to see from the peak about a 20 to 15% correction at the very least in Bitcoin. I hope you got some value out of this quick update on Bitcoin. Let me know below where you think Bitcoin is headed in the near term. Until the next video, don't forget to like, it costs you nothing, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.